recording. Okay, we're good on that. Did anyone want to introduce what we're doing tonight? Or see, we're missing Robert. Robert usually does that. No takers on it. Okay, so I will say it. We are April 1st today, and it is our second presentation on handwriting. There are different types of areas that you can do with handwriting. Last week it was about signature. This week it's about relationships, and then we're going to be doing next week it's about hiring and getting hired through handwriting, and also being able to, if you want to, have an opportunity to become an HR if you have that knowledge. So we are going to start this. I am going to be having everybody introduce themselves, but let me just start this presentation because there is going to be the opportunity that's going to come up. So I'm going to share my screen now in regards to relationships. So do just bear with me for a moment, please. Okay, so we are going to start the slideshow from the beginning. Okay, so we're already here, so that's irrelevant. So as we said, this is going to be handwriting and relationships, and presented by Lorianne. I am a certified handwriting analyst, graphotherapist. I'm also a mentor at the university that I'm going to show that. What we're going to be talking about today is going to be, it's such a big scope, we are not going to be able to cover everything on it, but you will have the ability to connect and be able to get some more information later. So this presentation is inspired by my personal mentor and friend. I also have another mentor and friend here, which is Doc Grayson. We met through this group, and he's also the author of The Secrets to Making Love Happen. Excellent book, out of print. So we're going to talk about that. We could maybe get you some downloads on that one down the road, but I seriously highly recommend it if you're looking at relationships. Making love happen, but it goes beyond that scope. It's really actually quite interesting. It works with NLP as well. So yes, speaker, trainer, teacher, you read about that. What I'm very proud of is actually this year, I have become an authorized mentor for Handwriting University International. It's an honor for that, but I'm also honored to be a part of this Advanced Branding Collaborative. And the Mastermind Branding Collaborative Group. What we're doing is we pull together, we bring the good resources together, and we offer it to people to talk about and share. And if they want to pursue anything, we have the resources to allow them to do that. So right now, basically, what does handwriting? Basically, it reveals compatibility. So what we're looking for, what area of your relationship do you want to improve? What do you want to know about the person is what we're going to talk about. There's going to be a couple of presentations. I'm hoping for a lot of interaction again tonight. So here's the deal. I'm going to shut my share down for a minute, and I would love everybody to introduce themselves. So we'll start with Roy, and I'll go this way in my screen.
Okay, I'm Roy Miller from Dallas, Texas.
Perfect. And what do you do, Roy?
I'm retired.
Oh, you do more than that. Telling him to stop saying he's retired. He's not retired. But anyway,
that's my pride. No, I'm actually a plan formulation expert.
Perfect. Excellent. And then Doc, you're at this side.
I'm Doc Grayson. I'm from La Crosse, Wisconsin. We're mostly from Chicago, though. I've just been in La Crosse the last 2 years, and I was a teacher for 40 years.
Amazing. And incredibly knowledgeable in handwriting as well. So as we know, and Leslie, you know. So Leslie, you're next.
Leslie Quasarano from Detroit, Michigan, and I am a faith-based life coach.
Nice. Jenny, I know you're muted right now.
Hi, I'm Jenny Kautz. I'm from Brisbane, Australia, originally from Germany, and I'm an NLP life coach, and I'm also a nurse.
Excellent. And I don't know, Wendy, if you can contact us or not. You have the opportunity. If I don't see it unmuted in 2 seconds, I'll know that you're unable to. Wendy is not feeling very well right now, but it's very nice that she's joining us and she's taking part of this. All right, so I'll go back to sharing my screen here. And we're going to get into the share. So this is just a quick thing. You've got 2 paths. I had this last time, but one thing that I didn't have on last time is I had this understanding your relationships on the professional path. Yes, it is, but it's also very much on a personal path. I use this as far as building relationships in sales. I use it in building relationships with even my children, knowing a little bit more about what is it? Are they anxious about something or such? If I can get some handwriting samples from them, it's awesome because I get to know a little bit more about things that they won't actually speak.
Yeah, okay. Just want to make sure it wasn't mine.
No, I think Lorianne must have froze up.
Oh, am I frozen up?
Yeah, or we couldn't hear you for a while there.
Oh, sorry about that. I didn't see it. It usually comes up that I'm actually frozen, but okay. So basically what I was just saying is understanding relationships. It's not just about your loved ones. It's a bigger scope. So it could be about your clients, business workers, your children and such. So there's where the personal path, and yes, obviously you can take a business path on this too. So this is what you can learn from handwriting. Health traits, those are things that you really want to stay away from. Compatibility, clues to honesty, and traits you want to avoid. So I was actually joking around because I was telling Roy earlier that you can be with somebody and you really don't know if it's the true them. So I did this because I'm thinking, do you know if that's the real me or not? And obviously you guys know it's not, so I can take that off and you can see that this is who I really am. Although the hair looks really good. So just an idea that you can see things that you would not see if you're just talking to the person. So I kind of laugh here. I really do. I seriously have this. I have this book from Bart Baggett, and this is like seriously is such an older version. But it's an excellent book. I highly recommend it. And as I was saying earlier, if you want, contact me at iamthatgal.com. We can see if we can get you a download on it. In it, it's got so much information regarding what compatibilities issues are there, who to be with, who not to be with. If you're thinking of dating, I absolutely highly recommend you get a handwriting sample before you go any further if you think the relationship is going well. So this is from his book, one of them. I do have a few, but they're not as clearly precise. So I used a couple of his examples. I do have my own that are coming up that we'll have fun with and talk about. But in this case, so this is something that you're looking at. If you get a sample like this, it would be, would you date this person? Knowing handwriting, obviously at first look at it, you'd probably sit there and go, I don't really think I would. But there gives you a lot more information about why. So this person here has several different variable slants. So that means that any one time you don't know, like they're confused. The other thing too is you've got this here that you see the N here goes upwards. That's a self-consciousness that they have. Again, here, if you look at the open at the end of the T, there's stubbornness. The T line goes down, which means they're domineering. And the whole, I'm not going to go through all of it, but the whole slant of it is a downward. So if you have up, you're positive. If you have down, you're pessimistic. So out of this is really interesting, is I love what Bart did, is this is what you can learn from handwriting. These are the different things. I covered a few of them. Ones you really want to look for are double loops. They're liars. Like that's really something you want to just stay away from. I had one ex-boyfriend, he's still my best friend, but our relationship didn't work out. And it's not in here, but that would be a jealousy loop. These are things that we're going to have that we can look at later. But like I said, we don't have the time here to go through everything. So dominant, confusion, dual personality because of the slant movements, also self-deceit. There's something that he's deceiving himself on because there's a left loop on the O, right loop means he's secretive, and the double loop means they're liars. Now, one thing that I want to show you here, we're stacking traits, okay? So there's certain things that will make things a little bit worse, some things that might balance things out to make it so that if they're a liar, but they've got kindness and such, maybe just that they're lying because they don't want to hurt somebody, right? So don't always take that. The line loop may not be the whole thing. You've got to look at everything together. In this particular case, though, this was somebody that Bart bought a hamburger for, had him write something up, and did that analysis. The next one, this is interesting. Obviously, first thing you see, it's an upward slant, upward line, which means that person is very optimistic. Where we're looking at here, you've got the high T-bars, you've got a crossed over. You might think that that's a low T-bar, but it's not. It's going into the O, but it's crossed over, which means persistence. The one thing that you see about this too is the M, opposite to the last one, goes downwards, which means diplomacy. What we do see here, though, is on the D, there's a loop. And whenever there's a loop on either the D or the T, that means fear of criticism. Now, with the D, it tends to be more physical appearance. With the T, it will be more intellectual. So if you tell them anything that might hurt their intellect, they might take it a little bit harder than somebody who closes those. So if you have those open loops, it really is worthwhile closing them down. I would say this person has extreme pride, as it says here, but not vanity. There's a difference there too, that through this book, the courses or whatever you learn about, and great signature. There's obviously ego there, feels good about themselves. A fluidity of thought comes in where you see something that looks like a figure 8, means that they have that fluidity of thought. They can move thoughts around in a really positive way. So these are some of the things here. And obviously, here's what you can list out. You can stack the traits and you can say, okay, so he has those issues with his physical appearance, but there's so much more positive that will outweigh the negative. And that's really important to know. Just to let you guys know, I'm pretty sure most of you would know, this is Woody Harrelson's signature and handwriting. So he is actually an actor. He's done very well and continues to. But you can see that even if they don't have 100% positiveness, or there might be a few clues there, for the most part, anything that is something that might bring him down, there's that many more that'll bring him up and be persistent and make it happen. Am I still there? I'm still there? Okay, because I just had a notice. So we have 2 handwritings here. Did Doc take off? Where's Doc?
Yeah, he said he became sick, so he had to leave.
Oh, okay. So we have 2 handwritings here. I don't have all of the strokes there, but I was just wondering, do any of you want to chime in and say anything that you see, just out of ideas of what you think about this couple?
Well, down here, well, on the bottom of where it says my, the M goes down, like you were talking about a while ago.
This here.
Yes.
Yes, so that's diplomacy, definitely. Now, does this person up here have diplomacy?
Well, the whole text goes up, doesn't it? So he's
Yep.
really,
Optimistic.
yep.
And there is a little bit of a down here and a down here. So then you'd be looking at, yes, definitely also diplomatic. Just to let you know, this Y that has, it doesn't go all the way to the top. That just means that the person is very selective on who they have in their community. So they will choose friends very wisely. Where's
Then
this?
there's a loop on the D, isn't it?
What's that?
There's a loop on the D up there.
Yes, you got that.
Destiny.
Here, and also I believe, um,
On the
Here.
T as well, just.
this one has a loop on the T. This one has a
Yeah.
loop on the D. Yes. This one shows some stubbornness with the open T there, and there too. Now here's another thing interesting. This person here writes a lot harder on the paper than this one, as you can tell. Right? So this person here is a lot more forgiving versus this person. So if you piss this person off, it's going to take a lot more time for them to be forgiving than this person here. Like tomorrow, they'll be fine. This one here will carry it on for a while.
Mm.
So if you look at these two, though, there's an interesting thing. This S here is called a yielding S. So it basically works well with anybody who is a little bit hard-headed. So they'll yield to that. They will understand it. Forgiving versus somebody who's not so, this person would help that person to be more forgiving or help them through that lack of forgiveness. So you'd be looking at, and then this is interesting too. If you have a T-bar going forward, that means you're a doer. If you have it that hits on the back here, you see how it's backwards? And the dots also tend to be on the eyes, tend to be a little bit behind. Those are procrastinators. So this person's a procrastinator and this one is not. So how do you think that would work in a relationship? Do you think these two would be compatible?
I think so.
Okay, so here's the interesting thing. This is where the more information you have, the better it is. Nice thing is this is the lady, and this is, whoops, sorry, backwards. Sorry, go previous. This is the lady, this is the gentleman. And so he has probably been in a situation where he has to be more precise, tough. She might be in more, and interesting enough, she likes her own time. So the Y that goes down with the straight line means that she needs her own time. Like she likes her solitude. There would be probably a lot more that needs to go together to understand this, but both of them are very quick thinkers. Both of them have, so where one is a doer, the other one is a procrastinator, it's a nice balance. Because if you have them both procrastinators or both doers, it all depends. Are you an A type or a B type, right? So those are things that you have to look at. I can't remember how many years these people have been married, but it actually has been quite a long time. I think 49 years, am I right? So they actually are, but where they have differences, they've actually been compatible. And that's where you're doing a compatibility report. It may look like one person doesn't work with the other one, but when you look at their strengths, their weaknesses, and how they can work together, that's the best way. Now, some people will have a relationship and not understand how the two can be compatible. So they just argue and they just give up. And that's something that you have to be really aware of in these situations, is that if they're going through, they're saying, I need a relationship, I need to help my relationship, you can find the strengths, the weaknesses, and then put them together and say, okay, so where can you help with this person? How can you help that person be this way? And how can you support them in things that they're not going to change anyway? So that's really important in that case when you're talking about two people in a relationship. They might be a relationship falling apart or trying to get together. Either way, you just look at the two. So it gets quite expansive on what you can actually learn on this. And then we have these two as well. I'm going to just quickly go through this because I just want to get some questions and answers. So in this case here, this person really likes physical activity. I noticed here likes to be in the forefront because that circle on the front means I'm unique. I need to be known. Interestingly enough, this here, which is interesting on the eye, that is like what we call a twig. So they're incredibly protective. The only problem is it's so protective. And I explained to this client, I said, just watch out because like any twig, if you pull it too tight, it'll snap. So as much as it's nice to be protective, that's a little bit too rounded that you just want to watch it because if you snap, that can be a negative. On the other hand, and I will say that this is the husband, this is the wife. She, on the other hand, again, her writing is lighter. She's more forgiving. The Y loop here is considered somebody who is, I wrote exactly. So emotionally nurturing. So she loves to nurture where he takes responsibility. So these two can work it out very well because while she's nurturing him, he needs the responsibility. She also has very detailed writing. It's very, very small. But it means that where he needs to have the backup, she will be there. Interestingly enough, she shows signs of intelligence. She's got, obviously, because she writes and prints at the same time, that's a sign of intelligence. That's independence. And he's got the wit and humor. So if you look at this here, that means humor. So there's one a little bit more serious, one a little bit more humorous. This couple, I don't see anything that would cause any issues at this time in their handwriting. And both of them have the same slant. So they're both DE slants. They kind of may look like an AB slant, but they're actually DE slants. So they both have the same emotional outlay. So they'll understand each other on an emotional basis, which is really very important. And that previous couple, the same thing. They actually had a very similar emotional outlay. So they'd see things the same way. So we went through that. I went through that. I just want to say if anybody is interested in this, we can give you a really great deal. We were talking about the collaborative, and when we're doing these presentations, it's not about selling, but it's also if you are interested in it, you actually get a discount through our group. So if you want to, you can email me at lorianne@iamthatgal.com. We also have, if you just go straight to iamthatgal.com /offer, you can sign up there as well. There's the 301 class is certification here. We have the 101 for people who want to start. Regular price $628, $197 if you want to go through our group. And again, if you go to Handwriting University website, you're not going to get these deals. It's through us. So I'm just going to ask question and answers. And before I do end, I just want to let you know next week it's about hiring, being hired, and also starting your own business with your own HR certification if you're interested. So that's the end of this. And does anybody have questions? Does anybody want to ask any questions?
Lorianne, if somebody wants to like get started on that course, what all does it involve for that person?
An absolute interest in this science. Like I was 9 years old, as I said. My mother had books in the house, and I read about it. I've used it in so many contexts of my life, and all you need is if you want to invest your time. I would say the 197, excellent. It can actually help with people like, as I know, Jenny, you're in the NLP. It definitely does work really well with counseling because you get to know your customer beforehand. And so you're building a relationship with your customer. There's another relationship, right? Before the customer even actually comes out and speaks to you, you already have an idea of how you're going to relate to that person by knowing their handwriting. So that's really big. 197 is a startup. If you're really interested in taking it to the next level, then there's the 301. Definitely cost more money, but you don't need any background on it. This is something that can be learned. If you have intuition, it kind of helps because there's certain handwriting that you can actually connect with and understand a little bit better. But it's a science. There's the stack of the card. You can even just start with your trait cards with 101 has in that. And there's 51 traits. And with those 51 traits already, when somebody actually writes something, the first things you'll see is like, yep, I see that. That's a double O. That's somebody who likes to lie. And again, lying is not always bad. Sometimes they're double O, double loops are because of, if you're a lawyer, sorry, but that's your, so it'll be instinctively in your brain that you're going to be lying in certain instances. It's going to show up in your handwriting. Or again, if you're somebody in a job where you have to make people feel good about themselves, then you know that that's that double loop. Is it a good thing to change? Well, if it's somebody who should be honest, yes, they should take away those double O's. But if you're in an industry that you need to be able to provide white lies, it may not be a really great thing to change. And those are the things too, if you're helping with relationships. The two big things I would definitely say, if you've got a loop in your T and a loop in your D stems, yeah, close them. And it, to me, that's an absolute go. Like, those are things you don't want to feel like sensitivity to criticism, both in your intellect or your physical. So those are my two first ones I would work with. And the T-bar, heighten the T-bar. That means higher self-esteem. And let me tell you, you actually, when you're talking to these customers and your clients and you're actually teaching them, I've already gone through it myself. It's the hardest thing to do is change your handwriting, but it works. Like, I started with my T-bars because my T-bars were really low, and now I have them. And sometimes I still see them sometimes go low. It depends on when you're writing something. But when you're aware of it, if you're doing a low T-bar, re-put the line up there at the top and keep doing that, because your brain will eventually work that. If you're in a relationship, you want the best for both of you. You want the best for either one of you to be feeling good, because that helps the relationship stay stronger. So those are my two top ones that I do deal with. There's a whole bunch involved. Like I said, it would take forever to go through everything that deals with compatibility and relationships. Jen.
So would it actually be good with children? Because like my son, he's just starting to write, to actually teach them to do the T like straight away and close that D. And
there's another thing too. We have actually booklets. I actually just lent my sister mine for children because she's home with her 3 grandchildren, and I said, you owe it back to me, but she's got a couple of things that she's going to work on. But we have the Change Your Handwriting, Change Your Life. There is one for kids, and it's really neat because it has lines and they can write it. So if there's an open T at the bottom, it's going to teach the child to teach cursive in the way that it builds from start their self-esteem. They're not going to do an M this way, which is self-consciousness. They're going to do it this way, where they're diplomatic. If you teach them that, the brain will automatically respond to it, which is just amazing.
yeah, that's awesome. That's what I thought. Just like teach them straight away so they don't actually run into all that trouble later on.
Exactly. Yeah. So
Awesome. Cool.
we've been taught to write, but we haven't been taught where there's areas that are reflecting, things in our lives that we really do need to change. And here's funny, I actually did a compatibility report with my ex-husband's handwriting in mine after the divorce. And it should have been before, because there were so many clues in there. Like, we were both incredibly independent, we were both business minded, and we both needed our space. But I really wasn't being sensitive to his needs, and neither him to mine. If I had had that compatibility report and been able to say, hey, you know what, I get it, so how can we fix it? How can we make it better? And those are things. Are you going to save every marriage on this earth? Absolutely not. But it will at least give them an understanding. And if it's not working out, you can also give them an understand that it's not my fault. It's not his fault. It was both of ours. in the end. I mean, mine was a little bit weird how it ended, but if you see that there was a stream upwards to the blowout, right? If we had stopped it here, we either would have had a better divorce or we'd have stayed married, but it wouldn't have ended up in that, that volcano mess that happened. So those are things that are really good to do. Absolutely, children, handwriting children. And if you look at their handwriting, my sister was saying that she's got her granddaughter doing writing, and she does little circle, 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 circle. And she goes, oh my goodness, it shows that she wants all the attention in the world. And we already know that, but it's showing up in her handwriting. It's already showing up there. And big circles on an eye, like my one sample had, nothing wrong with that. They want to be unique. It might even be good if they want, they want to have the limelight. But if you've got somebody who wants the limelight, you better not have somebody next to you who wants it with you, unless you're working together in business, because that's going to be like two A's are going to be like, woo, so yeah, just a lot of interesting stuff that you can learn from this. It's just wonderful. I can, like I said, I can get a hold of Bart. I know that we have the relationship book is excellent. Obviously, his other book that I have written to you guys about, and it was at the front one, is The Success of the Rich and Happy. That has a lot of handwriting information in there. That would also work with the relationship side of it. He's got one area of that, and the balancing of your life. So yeah, and anyone in any sort of counseling, everything, I really highly recommend, even if you do the 101. That started me, of course. Then I became addicted to it because I just loved that. I've loved it since I was a kid. So it was like, woo, there's a university here now. I can actually get a certification. And I just sent in my master's certification. I don't know if I'm going to pass it, but but I did all the work, and so that's the big part of it. So yeah, pretty happy about that. Looking forward to it. So
Awesome.
any other questions? So look at that. We did this in less than an hour.
So, Lorianne, if somebody takes that course, what would you say would be the average time for somebody to get through it?
That's the other thing. It's all based on what time you want to do it. I mean, ultimately, you can get it done in 6 months for the 301. The 101, there's no certification for it. That I got through, I think, in like no time. The 301 is a lot more expansive. So you'd be looking at 6 months would be a reasonable time. It took me 4 years. What I'm saying is that there's not an absolute requirement.
No.
I just wanted to get my certification, and I flew to Chicago to get it. So,
But I mean, basically, somebody want to start out just the introductory part. It's just basically self-paced.
yep,
And you can
absolutely.
just do it. Depends how much time and effort you put into it. Correct.
That's right. They're not gonna kick you out of it. The nice thing is, though, is if you have a mentor, I do have actually one lady that I'm mentoring. She'll definitely be able to get through it in the 6 months. Back when I was doing it, we didn't have that. We didn't have that opportunity. We didn't have that the ability to be dealing with somebody on a daily basis, almost, if required. We tend to do it once a week, but if somebody needs you right away, we're there for you no matter what. So that mentorship program's really helped in regards to moving things forward and making people more comfortable, because there's a lot of information in there and it can be overwhelming, and I have issues with overwhelm. So it was, the ultimate thing was when I did go to Chicago and I met Bart, and we only had a group of 4 there for our certification. It meant a lot, but that's where we realized mentoring will help a lot, because it just literally removes the overwhelm on getting this course done. But then you get certified, and then there's not a whole heck of a lot of people out there who are certified handwriting analysts, and there's so many different dimensions to it that yeah, pretty exciting. So like I said,
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lorianne. That was really good. Awesome.
You're very welcome. And I hope you guys have a great evening and keeping safe. And like I said, next week is going to be about HR. If you want to put HR into it, hiring people and getting yourself a job if you need to get one. There's ways of doing that too. So hope to see you April 8th, 7 Eastern time. See you guys then. Bye.
Thanks. See ya.